And welcome to the Free Your Geek podcast. I am your host, Jay Free, and this is episode 4 of The Thorn Beneath the Roots. This is a 5-part journey into the heart of Thimblethorn Vale, where peace is fragile, silence has weight, and the forest holds more than it reveals. When the forest takes more than it gives, sorrow settles over the vale. The path home becomes long and heavy, marked by silence that clings to every step. Episode 4: A Brother's Grief. The glade grew still after the wormling vanished. The trees swayed lightly in the breeze, but to Milo, the world felt frozen. He knelt in the moss, holding Mira's body against him. She was light in his arms, far too light, and yet the weight pressed down harder than stone. Blood clung to him everywhere, on his vest, his arms, his hands. It soaked into the moss, spreading outward in dark patches that looked too large for her small frame. The herbs she had gathered lay scattered like offerings gone to waste. Flowers mixed with blood, their colors sharp against the ruin of the clearing. Milo's chest heaved, but no words came. Grief tore soundlessly at him, until finally it broke through in raw, shaking cries. He struck the ground with his fists, clawed at the moss until it tore loose in clumps. His nails scraped his own skin, leaving red trails across his arms. He wanted to hurt. He wanted his pain to match hers, as though it could balance what had been taken. But the forest gave nothing back. At last, exhaustion dulled the fury. His sobs fell to silence. He looked down and noticed the bead still clutched in his hand, the small wooden one from Mira's broken necklace. It was cracked, ugly, worn smooth by her fingers, yet treasured above the others. She had once called it her favorite because of its flaws. With shaking hands, Milo tore a strip of cord from his vest and strung the bead upon it. He tied it twice and slipped it over his neck. The bead rested against his chest, heavy as a stone, a reminder too sharp to touch again. He wrapped Mira gently in his cloak. Her body felt weightless, as though the part of her that had laughed and danced through the veil had already slipped away. He smoothed the hair from her brow, tucking one pale flower into her hand, the last kindness he could offer. The shadows lengthened as the sun dipped lower. Soon the forest would be swallowed in night. He could not leave her here, alone in the glade. She belonged to the vale, to her family, to the hearth that had raised her. With slow, steady effort, he lifted her into his arms. She did not weigh much, but carrying her was the hardest thing he had ever done. The wound at his side still burned, blood still trickling down, but he ignored it. His legs shook, yet he took the first step away from the glade. then another. The path stretched long and unkind. The forest leaned close, its branches whispering above him, its shadows darker than before. He felt the weight of its judgment in every tree. His flail hung unused at his side, swinging with his stride, a weapon meaningless against absence. The silence pressed hard. No birds stirred, no insect sang. Only the sound of his own breathing and the faint thump of the wooden bead against his chest filled the air. A rhythm of grief. At the forest's edge, dusk painted the vale in orange and shadow. Hearth fires burned in distant windows. Children's laughter carried faintly from the river. Life continued, untouched. Milo walked through it like a ghost, unseen, carrying the truth that had broken him. When he reached the garden path of the Sharproot cottage, the door was already open. Hamlin stood in the doorway, his stillness breaking as his eyes fell on the bundle in his son's arms. Inside, Brenna's hand slipped, and the sound she made was unlike any word, unlike any cry. It was grief given voice, sharp and endless. Milo lowered Mira into his father's arms and collapsed to his knees. His mother clutched her daughter's satchel, burying her face in the torn fabric, as though she could pull time backward. The house filled with the sound of loss, the kind of sound that leaves marks on the walls and hearts alike. The Vale buried Mira beneath the willow fire tree. Villagers came with candles, flowers, and stones carved with her name. They laid small gifts at her grave, gentle offerings for a gentle soul. Her parents wept openly. Milo stood apart, silent, his eyes fixed on the forest's edge. For 3 days he did not speak. You've been listening to The Thorn Beneath the Roots. Join me next time as the story of Thimblethorn Vale continues.